During World War II, the title of Field Marshal was the highest rank a German officer could achieve, reserved only for the elite of Hitler's war machine. These men weren't just soldiers. They were strategic masterminds, entrusted with carrying out Hitler's vision of domination. But everything changed in 1945. Germany fell, the Third Reich was no more, and the men once seen as invincible found themselves stripped of command, on trial, or worse. How did they reckon with the aftermath of their choices? In this video, we're going to find out. Let's start with the first name on our list, Walther von Brauchitsch. Brauchitsch came from a long line of soldiers, and like his ancestors, he carved out a career in the military. Rising through the ranks, he eventually became Commander-in-Chief of the German Army from 1938 until 1941. He played a crucial role in early victories in Poland, France, and the Low Countries, showcasing his expertise in fast, decisive warfare. But while his tactics brought success, his inability to manage Hitler's increasing interference in strategic decisions became a major issue. By the time Germany turned its sights on the Soviet Union, Hitler had started overriding Brauchitsch's authority, leading to disastrous consequences on the Eastern Front. In late 1941, his health gave out. He suffered a heart attack just as Germany's push toward Moscow began to collapse. Following this failure, Hitler dismissed him. For the rest of the war, Brauchitsch lived in quiet retirement, far removed from the front lines. After Germany's surrender, British forces arrested him in 1945 on charges of war crimes. But before he could face trial, he died from pneumonia in October 1948. The man who once led Hitler's army would never stand before a court of law. Maximilian von Weichs. Von Weichs built a military career that blended high-ranking commands with controversial decisions. As a field marshal, he led German forces in the invasions of France, Yugoslavia, and the Soviet Union, earning him a major role in Nazi Germany's military campaigns. In 1944, he was appointed to oversee German forces in the Balkans, a region plagued by fierce resistance. Under his command, brutal operations were carried out against partisans in Yugoslavia and Greece. These crackdowns resulted in widespread civilian deaths and are now viewed as war crimes. He stepped down from military duty in March 1945 and was taken into custody by U.S. forces a few months later. He was scheduled to stand trial in the hostages trial, part of the broader Nuremberg proceedings, but before his case was heard, he was removed from the trial, officially due to health issues. That decision meant von Weichs avoided sentencing altogether, despite evidence of his involvement in serious atrocities. He died in 1954 in West Germany, having escaped justice that many believed he deserved. Georg von Küchler. Küchler joined the military at the start of the 20th century and served in World War I. Between the wars, he focused on artillery, which later earned him high command positions in World War II. He led the 18th Army and eventually commanded Army Group North during the invasion of the Soviet Union. His leadership in the East included harsh tactics and involvement in war crimes against civilians and prisoners of war. Promoted to Field Marshal in 1942, Küchler was removed from command in 1944 when he failed to stop Soviet advances. After stepping down, he distanced himself from resistance efforts against Hitler. At war's end, Küchler was arrested by American troops. Unlike some of his peers, he faced trial for his role in Nazi atrocities. In the high command trial, he was found guilty of crimes against humanity, including the execution of disabled individuals in occupied Soviet territories. Though sentenced to 20 years, his term was later reduced to 12. He was released in 1953 after serving less than 10 years. Küchler spent his final years in southern Germany and passed away in 1968. Wilhelm Ritter von Leeb. Von Leeb was a decorated World War I veteran who became one of Germany's senior military leaders in World War II. He earned nobility through his wartime service and was known for his disciplined leadership. He led Army Group C during the successful 1940 campaign in France and was later chosen to command Army Group North in the invasion of the Soviet Union. During this operation, his troops were involved in civilian massacres and collaborated with SS death squads. Leeb also passed on Hitler's infamous Barbarossa Decree, which allowed for the execution of political commissars and mistreatment of prisoners. In early 1942, Leeb asked Hitler for more autonomy or a release from his duties. Hitler chose the latter. He stood trial after the war. Although accused of war crimes, the tribunal handed down only a 3-year sentence, citing insufficient direct evidence. Since he had already spent that time in custody, Leeb was released. Despite receiving secret financial gifts from the Nazi regime, Leeb avoided serious punishment. He lived out his retirement peacefully and died of a heart attack in 1956. Paul Ludwig Ewald von Kleist. Coming from a family with a long military tradition, von Kleist fought in both world wars. He was known for commanding armored units and playing a key role in Germany's early blitzkrieg tactics. In 1940, he led a powerful panzer force that cut through French defenses. Later, during Operation Barbarossa, he commanded tank armies in some of the largest battles on the Eastern Front, including Kiev and Uman. In 1942, von Kleist led Army Group A during Germany's push into the Caucasus. However, the offensive failed, and by 1943 he was forced to retreat. After being dismissed by Hitler in 1944, he was briefly arrested due to his cousin's role in the failed plot to kill Hitler, but was released without trial. Captured by Allied forces after the war, von Kleist was tried in Yugoslavia, then extradited to the Soviet Union. There, he received a 25-year sentence in a labor camp. He died of heart failure in 1954 while still in Soviet custody, one of the highest-ranking Nazi officers to perish in a Soviet prison. Wilhelm List. List remained in the German army after World War I, helping modernize its forces under the strict limits of the Treaty of Versailles. He rose to prominence with the 1939 invasion of Poland and was promoted to Field Marshal the following year. In 1941, he led the Balkan campaign, overseeing the invasions of Yugoslavia and Greece. These regions experienced severe atrocities during the German occupation, and while List's personal involvement is unclear, he bore command responsibility. In 1942, his career ended during Germany's failed push into the Caucasus oil fields. Hitler dismissed him for poor performance, and List never returned to command. Post-war, he was captured and put on trial during the hostages trial for crimes committed in the Balkans. He was sentenced to life in prison, but was released in 1953 due to health problems. He lived until 1971, dying at the age of 91. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed learning about these controversial and powerful figures from World War II, be sure to check out our other video on the botched execution of Wilhelm Keitel. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming World War II deep dives. See you next time.